Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everyone doing? And of course, I hit one wrong button, but little transition, didn't need to go to the wrong place. Cool. So, how's everyone doing? This is a RambleCast. It is April 15th, tax day 2026. I still need to file my extension, but I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me I have Corbin Davenport. Yes. You are in the higher defs, kind of. Not re- oh wait, did oh Chris, sorry. I screwed up. I forgot to switch you into the audio. So you're now live.
Wow.
Yeah. There I've got too many things to click when I go through the launch process, and I almost always forget something now. Um
Well, unless the chat says again, I should be here now. Hello. I'm on new camera. I got the Logitech MX Brio. It's probably going to look the same because it's still going through. Uh, I almost said Google Hangouts. It has not been called Hangouts in a while. I think this is Meet. Yes.
yes.
Um, and the now the mouth and mic are out of sync. Uh oh. Do I need to
Um
rejoin?
I say something. I haven't actually been watching you.
Hello.
I don't know if you're out of sync or not.
I'll rejoin anyway. It's free and easy.
Fair enough. Um,
Okie doke.
yeah, if it's still out of sync, there's probably not much I can do about that because it's just doing the window capture and the audio capture, and there's kind of not much else I can really do.
Just look away. Don't look at me.
Well, hey, in a little bit, we'll be shrinking you to an even smaller window, so chances are people won't even really be able to notice.
That's good.
um,
That's good. Do not perceive me.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Alyssa, David, and Carson. Good to see all of you here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Howdy, howdy.
yeah. So, uh, have I heard of MS Teams? Wow, you come here suggesting something that's actually the worst of all the options.
I don't know.
Um,
Zoom might be the worst. It
oh
might be
yeah,
under. It might be under Teams.
yeah. Zoom would actually be objectively the the full the full misery. I say that I don't know that I've ever actually had once I'm into a Zoom call, it's usually okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's um getting into the call usually sucks because they bombard you with the hey, please install our
Yeah.
crappy app and please do this, and while you're here.
Which
And
which Google does not doesn't do, not because it's annoying or it'd be a bad experience, but because Google is allergic to making native software, so they don't have a native Meet app to advertise to me.
it's
Although we will get to that
yes,
later. They're
there's a weird irony where the thing you said is just recently less true. um
Carson said it's sad how Zoom became so mainstream given how crap of a product it is. I think that this seems like it happens for most mainstream things. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, Windows, a lot of cars, but
um uh, I'm trying to remember the name of the terrible thing that I mentioned it a week or two ago. WebEx. In
oh yeah,
fairness, WebEx is the actual worst thing in this industry or in this particular market, but
I
uh,
don't think I've used it ever. I
oh,
don't
it
think it's
is
come up.
so horribly bad.
Oh, it's Cisco's thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that checks out.
Yeah, which there was defense for WebEx when I slammed on it before, but I
I haven't used it, so I will not, slander it one way or the other. I just have to assume that it's from its Cisco. It's probably not good. But I will refrain from making a harsh judgment.
so
Um,
Carson saying WebEx isn't mainstream enough. That's because it was so horrible for so many years that when other things came along, WebEx lost its mainstream status.
said Zoom and Teams are far worse. Okay, interesting.
Uh, hmm, I I don't know that I can agree with that,
I think we
man.
have to we have to solve this by having a RambleCast on each platform until we run out of platforms, and then we sort of make a live tier list, rank them from S to F. And I think we can get to the bottom of this. We'll sort this out.
I could I yeah I think we can make that happen.
This would be an important journalistic endeavor for sure. Um,
Um,
so
yeah, I'm sorry, I am traumatized by WebEx. It is so bad. Um, all right. Anyway, on the subject of trauma, how is that not a good transition into this? Let's talk about Google I/O. um, yeah, Google I/O. The dates have been known, and now a little bit more is known. Um, Google has finally shared its first start to the session list and schedule. Of course, there's the keynote at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You know, the real time. And the developer keynote comes a few hours later at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. These are, of course, I would argue, probably the most interesting, if not the only interesting things that will be happening at this I/O. Yeah, I know I'm taking a bit of a hot take there, but yeah, those will be obviously the big ones. Uh, there is, of course, a list of all the other things that are coming. The what's new sessions for Google AI, Android, Chrome. Um, they're going to have obviously a bunch of AI stuff. Like when you look through the descriptions, when you see what each of these things is, it's like, wow, they're basically going to talk AI and then also occasionally mention other things. Um, and let's see. Then on Wednesday, they do have obviously quite a few others. Again, it's a whole bunch of what's new sessions. Um, of course, the what's new in Gemma, what's new in Android development tools, what's new in WebUI, which honestly I'm kind of surprised that one's getting some playtime at I/O, but I assume that they've maybe Google isn't even bothering with their I forget what it's called, but the version of Google I/O that they do for web developers. Um,
oh, the Chrome Dev Summit.
yeah, I mean they're still doing that, right? Or is that
I
gone?
don't I don't know. I've not heard about that in a while, but again, I'm also uh not super informed.
Yeah. Which notably is you go further down in this list, you also get to like supercharge your AI coding workflow with Chrome Dev Tools for agents. It's like it does feel like they're kind of getting a little bit more of the web stuff back into IO. Um,
I know like even if there's not a Chrome, it doesn't look like they're doing Chrome Dev Summits anymore, but even if they don't do that, I know there's like a million other web dev conferences things happening throughout the year, and it wouldn't surprise me if Google just kind of moved that to those one of those many ones.
yeah.
I'm not as informed about that as I would like to be. So I don't know.
And then also,
Where's the web UI one on this page?
if you go to the Wednesday, May 20th
Oh, well,
thing,
I'm trying to click Wednesday and it's not moving.
do you have JavaScript disabled or something? Or
No. Oh, okay. It was ad blocker. I don't
yeah,
know
that would have
why.
been the other one. And then also in this list, the one that kind of got me was what's new in Flutter.
Hmm.
Honestly, and I look, maybe this is unfair, but honestly, I kind of thought Flutter was dying. Um,
I mean, it's definitely in like it's in more of a maintenance mode, I think, than it used to be.
right. It seems like they were gung ho for Flutter for like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh wait, what? They're not doing Flutter anymore? Is this just a thing they don't care about? And it seems like Flutter's been kind of dead for maybe a couple of years now, and
Yeah, I mean,
now I guess there's something new.
yeah, I mean, I hear projects using it still pretty frequently, but I'm not. I don't have a good read on how much development has slowed down. I definitely don't hear as much about it these days. I know that the thing that came across my radar most recently, because I was writing so much Linux and open source stuff at How to Geek, was the Ubuntu installer being rewritten in Flutter, and I think another Linux distro tried it. I don't know if that was Fedora or not, but like it gets used for a few random projects here and there. And I'm sure obviously there's like a pile of production apps now using this that need to keep using it, so it's going to stay alive at least.
Oh, I have little doubt that it's still like there. I don't doubt there are projects that are using it. It's
Yeah.
more once you see the company that's maintaining it, or at least like the lead company maintaining it, once they kind of fall out of it, uh then you got to question, like, is there a long-term future for this, or is it just gonna kind of disappear and cease to exist, which we've seen happen with various dev tools out of uh Meta slash Facebook. We've definitely seen Google drop interest in a few things, and those, not always, but a lot of times, just kind of die. Um, though we've also seen a few things that both of these companies dropped, and then other communities picked up and decided to keep going, and now they're going strong or still going. Um,
Yeah,
so
and
you never know.
Flutter, yeah, and Flutter was also always in that range of it being it. Ideally, you're using it for cross-platform code bases. So, like in Google's case, a lot of their apps are still like per platform code
Mm-hmm.
bases. Like I'm sure the YouTube app for Android and the YouTube app for iOS share a lot of code, but they're like very distinct layers and frameworks on top. So like Google not even using Flutter for many of its apps, like that doesn't read as that's not like a life support status indicator as much as it would be for like other stacks, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. So it's always been in that kind of weird zone where it's the best option or one of the best options for a certain thing, but a lot of companies never get to that certain thing.
Right. And in fairness, and also kind of like, I guess the reason we stopped hearing about Flutter as much is at a certain stage, Kotlin became the just universal language that Google was pushing for a lot of the things that Flutter would have been used for. Um, they just, like, once multi-platform Kotlin became fairly stable, uh, I I think the company directive was just, if you can use that. Like, if you're already too invested in Flutter, just stick with Flutter. But if you're doing a new project, just make it Kotlin. If you're working on an old project that needs to be migrated to something, migrate it to Kotlin. So on and so forth. Like, that seems to have kind of become direction on a lot of this. And I'm not sure if it's a well warranted direction. Nothing against Kotlin here, just it seemed like Flutter was maybe a little better suited to a lot of the projects, but who knows?
Yeah, I've still never used Flutter. I've only used Dart, and I was primarily using Dart in the least supported uh, version, which is writing command line applications in Dart,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I was running into the fun cases of like, oh, there's a library that Google made for like a common use case. Oh, but it's only designed to be used within Flutter, so I have to find something else. So,
Right.
and like just missing a lot of weird things. Like I don't think there's still not really cross compile support. So when I was making Nexus tools as a Dart application, the easiest way for me to do that was just to set up GitHub Actions and have it compile on a bunch of different types of VMs, all independently. Um, and yeah, so yeah, so Flutter, and then yeah, just a lot of AI stuff. I don't know. I don't have much to say here. I guess my special interest here would probably be in the what's new in Android. Curious as it pertains to Android XR. Um, and I think I forgot to put. I might have thought about putting in the list, but I didn't because there's not a lot to talk about. It's just that Android XR did get an update recently, like last week. They added this like weird spatial videos feature where it turns 2D videos into 3D with like depth, like detected depth perception. And I watched a few things with it, and it's a very weird effect. It's a lot like actually, I guess if you want to switch topics, I'll bring up the blog post. I think I did open the blog post to add it, and then it left my brain.
So, very notably, if you filter by XR, the only three topics that come up, or the only three sessions that come up is the Google keynote, the developer keynote, and on Wednesday, the adaptive development for the expanding Android ecosystem, which, okay, guys, sure. Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect, like, I think they said that they were gonna try to get the glasses out this year. I think that was the plan. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had like a more elaborate demo ready in time for I/O or something. Maybe even a product announcement, but that might still be too early.
Well, I was actually thinking it was a little surprising that they don't have more sessions highlighting Android XR in some way, shape, or form, because obviously they announced, or they did kind of show off a little bit last year, but not a lot. And their history with this isn't great. And I know that this is going a little too far back in history for it to still be relevant, but I remember when Glass came out, they had their announcement. I don't remember off the top of my head if they had any developer sessions when they did the announcement, but I want to say that they did. But it was only like one or two. And then the next year they had, I believe it was 3 developer sessions, and one of them was not even a real developer session. It was more just kind of we're going to show you what stuff in Glass is supposed to look like, and that's it. So it was more just a design session. And then one of them wasn't much of a developer session. It had a little bit to it, but it was still pretty scrawny. And then, if I remember, they never had any Glass related sessions again. Well, they did, but none of them were developer sessions. It was more just sort of a see how cool Glass is. They
Right.
had like one of those. Anyway, yeah. So I feel like I'd be worried if they don't do a little bit more. However, I'm also comparing against old Google I/O, back when they used to have long sessions that were like 40-ish minutes a piece, and the sessions were actually for developers. Uh, New Google I/O, a something that happened, I would say around 2016, 2017. The start was in 2015, but it really took effect in by around 2017, 2018. Um, they moved to basically Google I/O was more of a fan event than a developer event. Like they had stuff for developers, but it was definitely not the sessions. And
Right.
at that stage, yeah, they it stopped being about development. So I don't really know if that comparison can really be made anymore, because if they don't hold sessions, then it is what it is. It's not really affecting development. That being said, if they're not holding sessions, it also probably means that they're not holding an interest in the platform, or much of an interest. So it does worry me a little bit that we haven't seen much in the way of Android XR being covered in the session list. Which brings the other, however, this session list is guaranteed not complete. They will have more sessions. What they're showing right now is a whole bunch of, like I said, it's the what's new plus a few of the things that they're okay with like disclosing currently. Give it give it another few weeks, maybe even like the day before, who knows. They will add a bunch of sessions. It's going to be the stuff where the titles technically would have given away some sort of a secret or spoiled a surprise or something. At that point, then we'll see all the other sessions.
Yeah, and I don't think the odds of this are high, but like for all we know, they could spend 15, 20 minutes in the keynote talking about this stuff. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think like there not being a dedicated session, even if it is added or isn't added later, is like necessarily like a bad thing to me. I think as long as something else happens, like as long as there's still like the OS update or the interface update or whatever coming out like every couple months, so I know you know they're still paying people to work on it. I'll feel okay. Which is why I saw this update. I was a little bit like, ooh, okay. So I don't have a dead Google product yet. It could still happen, but you know, not quite yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
and I don't actually think anything's gonna die right away just as a result of well, it's too early for a product to die is where I want to go with that. At least a product of that scale where they haven't even released anything. And even as I'm saying this, I'm starting to think back to various products that have died. Even one that was announced, they took pre-sales and then killed it before they even shipped it, but they still ended up shipping the ones that they did make. So
well,
the next is
yeah, I mean
Q.
it's been more than a month, so we're past the Microsoft kin uh, timeline.
Yeah.
So we're out of the woods there. But um, I guess just on the update, there was kind of this is like I think the second major update for Android XR to roll out, because there was the initial one when the initial factory firmware when the Galaxy XR came out in I think October or November, and then in December there was an update that added a couple more UI elements. I forget exactly what it did. Also fixed some bugs. So this is the first update. It rolled out uh, April 7th. First kind of update for the platform for 2026. They added a couple small things. I put the link in the show notes also. Um, the kind of the most interesting one is this spatial effect, where if you're playing a video and it's at like roughly 1080p or lower, it can add a fake 3D effect to 2D content. So they showed it off primarily for YouTube. Um, I don't know if I've try to get it working in other apps. They just mentioned YouTube and Chrome. I don't know if it's enabled for other stuff. Um, but I tried watching a few videos. It is interesting. Like sometimes it works a lot better than I would expect because I assume this is just like a very small machine learning model running on the headset constantly, which is kind of impressive because they're already having to run a lot of like background tasks on this headset to just track everything, and that's why you don't it's not squeezing as much performance out as like a phone might, because a phone doesn't have to track, where it is and where all my limbs are in space constantly. So kind of impressed if it works at all. But I was trying it and it went from like I did notice it like struggle to figure out where the edges of stuff was sometimes, but it was better than I was expecting. I don't think it's something I would want on most of the time because it is kind of distracting. Um, More so, I'd need like a slider to change the intensity level
Hmm.
because I was watching a few clips of it, and it was the same exact experience as. Did you ever use a Nintendo 3DS?
Personally, no.
Okay, so for you, I have one right here. So on the 3DS, it has a little slider, so you can change the intensity of the 3D effect, and the a lot of the I know the first like batch of 3DS games that came out, they were really excited about the effect. So if you got a 3D like one of those early 3DS games in the first year or two and you cranked up that slider, the depth was crazy. Like it really felt like your eyes were melting at a certain point. It was just like popping out really far to the point of like probably causing headaches in most people. And then later on, as the platform went on, they figured out like, okay, we need to tone that down. So later games were a little more subtle about it. And then there were a lot of games coming out near the end of the lifetime where they just didn't have 3D depth 3D at all. Um, because by that point, a lot of the consoles selling were like the cheaper 2D only ones. So but I was getting that same exact feeling here of like they want to show this off as like a cool thing, so they are cranking up this effect as much as my brain's depth perception can take, and I think they need to tone it down just a little bit. So if they had a slider or something, that might be cool, but I think I'm probably going to keep it off most of the time.
Hmm.
Um, and in this, they also talked about some more apps and games. A couple new games. They've got real VR fishing apparently. Um, Still really lacking there, so I hope they're still finding developers and hopefully giving them a bucket of money to make ports. Because that's the main problem with the platform at this point. Is just it really needs more standalone apps and games. And then they showed off the ability to pin app windows to walls in the same way you can with the Vision Pro. I tried this out a little bit and like it kind of works, but like it's there. Also, the ability to not only pin things to the wall but also try to keep track of them. So if I put a browser on my wall and I take off the headset and 20 minutes later I come back, put the headset on, unlock it, it should still be on that wall. So that kind of use case I don't really personally care about because I'm not trying to like use a headset in that manner. Usually if I'm like watching something, it's just going to be floating in front of me. Um, but I do know that that is probably required groundwork for more advanced tracking stuff. So I'm interested in what happens there. Um, and then they also talked about your physical hand appearing on top of in-screen elements, so like they're kind of just like cutting out where your hand is, which was already an experimental feature, and I think it still is. It's still in the lab section of the settings, so I'm not clear what changed here, unless maybe it's just slightly better now. I tried it out for a couple minutes when I got the headset, and I turned it off because I didn't really care. But I believe that's something the Vision Pro does by default, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm. It is a cool feature, but
Yeah,
weirdly, I think I would almost dislike it on the basis that I feel like This sounds weird, but it feels like I'd be losing screen real estate.
Yeah, I can see that. I know the the main issue, really the only issue I had with this sort of, 'cause if you don't have this off, it just shows like a 3D model of like a hand over where your hand is, and it's like
Hmm.
partially transparent, which is fine.
Yeah, yeah, I'd
It's
rather
perfectly
have the
usable.
transparency.
Yeah, and the only issue I had with that was is I watched the last two episodes, new episodes of The Pit on my headset. And the problem with The Pit is that it is very like blood and guts everywhere because it's a hospital show. So there are times when I need to just like cover the screen for a second. But when I'm in the headset, my hand is transparent, so that doesn't work. So I just have to like look away or close my eyes or something. Um, that's the only issue. That's other than that, the hands are fine. So I will say this update apparently screwed a lot of people on the Reddits for like Android XR, Galaxy XR. A lot of people were having tracking issues
Hmm.
after this update. Like they would be playing mostly with like virtual desktop or the apps that have like full immersion, like they're not the floating windows, like actual VR software, where like it'll just the headset will lose track of like where you are for a second and show like a little loading spinner and then put you back in, which makes it like kind of unusable. I've not had that issue, maybe because when I updated I didn't want to wait, so I flashed the update with Samsung Odin. I didn't know that that wipes user data, so in by doing that I factory reset my headset. So maybe something about it being a fresh slate fix that, I don't know, but I've been fine.
Hmm. Interesting.
So
Uh,
yeah, so Android XR is still alive. That's good.
it sure better be. Also, just to respond to the Carson's earlier, what's the over under on the AI count? Um, I'm I'm going to throw. I mean, we're just talking about the keynote. I'm going to throw 430. 430 might sound high, but I think they could do it.
I think if you're still making a drinking game out of it, you're gonna have to go to the hospital.
Oh no, no. Drinking game would be an impossibility. Uh could you even do damn not 420? No. I feel like they're high enough on their own supply that we got to go over 420. Um no. So, let's see. The keynote should last 2 hours. I mean, realistically, it it wouldn't be that crazy to fit 430 in there, but I think I actually am going a little too high. It's probably going to be un unjokingly, it probably actually will hit like 300 though.
I don't. I mean, the issue they always have is like it's not gonna be just AI. They're probably gonna say Gemini more times than AI.
Yeah.
But like if we're counting like all adjectives, like yeah, it's gonna be up
Oh,
there.
well, yeah,
If you're
if we
counting,
count
if
Gemini, Gemma, AI, ML,
uh,
machine learning, artificial intelligence, if we count
agent,
all of them plus any other, they won't mention a competitor, but if they mention, oh, or chatbot, I guess would maybe be. If we're counting all that stuff, are you kidding? I genuinely would be shocked if they don't hit like 1,000.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot. So
Possibly just in the first half hour.
yeah. So yeah, May 19th to 20th. Get ready, I guess. Prepare yourselves.
Yeah. So on the subject of Google AI and desktop apps, hooray, hooray, there are now apps for the Mac, and actually there was a Google desktop app for Windows too. We didn't bother linking it,
Yeah.
but Yeah,
I put it as
there's.
the second link in the notes here.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it
Yeah,
is in there. Never mind.
the two stories were the Google app for Windows
Mm-hmm.
having a global wallet, which is weird that they're kind of the same thing but different names. Um, and then the Gemini app arriving for Mac. So even though they have different names, they're kind of the same thing, which is a uh, you can do a button or a software button or a keyboard shortcut to bring up a like floating Google panel, basically like a search bar, search widget kind of thing, and you can type into it. I believe it's supposed to be able to look at your. I believe both the Windows and Mac apps, yes, can look at your screen as context. So very similar to the Chat GPT app, desktop app, and I think one of the other ones did this too. I don't know if it was Claude or someone else. But the idea is like you can bring this up with a keyboard shortcut and ask like, how do I do this if you have like a code editor open? And instead of you copy pasting the code or using like an IDE with this built in, it'll just look at your screen and look at the code and tell you what to do. And that works for other workflows too. Um, and it's also just generic search box, so you can use it as if you have the Google app on your phone or the home screen widget, and it has Google Lens and all that fun stuff. So um, yeah, not really a ton to say, just like that's nice as an option. I think this is mostly a uh, helpful value proposition for like their higher tier AI plans, because this is something that ChatGPT has offered for a while now, and I think one of the other ones is a desktop app that can like access your screen and do stuff. Oh, Copilot has this
Mm-hmm.
on Mac and on Windows, I believe. So just kind of like more like catching up to the competition rather than having like a unique thing, which is fine. Um, I I don't think I'll use this because I don't really want like Google. You know,
You don't want
I
spyware.
no. I mean, I say that, and I have Chrome on my computer, so they've already got me. They can look at my screen if they want to, but I don't really need more of it. Um, but yeah, that's a thing that exists if you would like it. Um, and yeah, also kind of funny that they point out that the at least with the Mac app, they point it out as native. I don't know if the Windows app is native, but the Mac app being like a Swift UI or whatever, uh, which is interesting for Google because Google is historically allergic to making native desktop software. Um, like obviously Chrome is well kind of native. It has like a fully custom graphics stack, so
Mm-hmm.
it's got all that bit. But like the Google Drive app for Mac has always been awful. Um, like most of the things they've made over the last decade, I don't even they don't have a lot of desktop software at all to start with. And I know for Mac, I don't think they don't have the Android Quick Share app for Mac OS yet, do they? Because I looked for it a few
Not that
months
I'm
ago.
aware of.
Yeah, it's just for Windows. Um, Carson said they said it was vibe coded. That would make sense. The only way Google could put out native software is if they just ask the AI to do it.
In a weird way, I don't know that I blame them. Uh, it
I
it's dumb, but at the same time, like they're never gonna do it otherwise.
It's not a very complicated app, I guess is helping it. It's just like here's their API endpoints. Here's the APIs for screen access. There you go. Carson said you don't even need the QuickShare app on Mac because it works with AirDrop now. Is that fully rolled out yet? I thought that wasn't fully working. I don't know. I just know I tried to look it up when I got my Galaxy XR because I wanted to move like screen recordings over, and it didn't seem to be available. So I just installed KDE Connect on everything, which supports file sharing and it works flawlessly. So that's just what I'm using. Okay. Oh, you said yeah. You just need to AirDrop to everyone. Okay. So I'll try that next time then. Might be a pixel only. Yeah. In my case, it would be AirDrop from the Galaxy XR headset to a Mac. But I know the Mac has the same like uh enable sharing as everyone button. So I'll try that later. Yeah. So Gemini's got apps. And speaking of Google services,
Yeah, and mostly services that cost money.
yeah,
Uh, YouTube Premium is getting more expensive. This is the first price hike in a little while. Not super long. There was one that affected certain tiers. I think it was 2 years ago or something. Anyway, so I guess the article right here says since 2023, so that checks out. Anyway, uh, yeah, they're going to be adding $2 per month to the regular individual subscriber plan, bringing it to basically 16 a month. The music and premium light plans, which I still hate that they call that premium light, those are both going up by $1 a piece. And the family plan is going to be going, or it's climbing by $4 a month, which, okay, I get it. And that one's going to be going up to 27 a month. So, uh I'm not I I'm not really sure. Well, okay, I'll get into that in a second. But apparently they are explaining this away as it allows them to, quote, continue to improve premium and support the creators and artists you love to watch, or sorry, that you watch on YouTube. Um and they're they're kind of trying to frame this as just the usual we need to raise prices, blah blah blah. And to some extent I can kind of see that, because look, there is inflation. No matter what certain people in certain administrations would try to tell you. But I find myself a little stuck on this narrative. Mostly because, well, okay. So the way a lot of people are framing this, or have framed this in some capacity, is Netflix and Disney Plus and every other streaming service. They've all raised their prices quite a few times over the last few years. Generally speaking, while I don't necessarily agree with their decisions to do it, and I think that it's probably costing them subscribers, that once they lose those subscribers, they're very possibly driving a lot of them to piracy, and once those people leave for piracy, they're probably not coming back. Because frankly, the piracy scenario isn't that bad these days. The thing that I'm finding myself wondering about is if the part where I don't see these matching up is that those companies are spending a lot of that money to produce content. Content costs them a fortune, because you're paying actors, you're paying writers, you're paying for production costs, you're paying for the entire crews. You've got expenses for making that stuff. YouTube, on the other hand, doesn't. Everything that goes up on YouTube these days is made by a channel, and that channel absorbs those costs. So I find myself asking the question, where's the money going? Why do they need to increase the price? And look, again, I get inflation factors in here. I'm fine with there being a price increase. I just kind of wonder about the amounts. So
Right. If it's like higher price, but the percentage of how much does my money go to whoever I'm watching, if that remains constant, then sure. But I
eh,
don't I don't know if they're disclosing that.
well, they've always disclosed that they have a 55-45 at split for ads. When it comes to YouTube Premium, they have been much less clear about how that split happens.
Mhm.
Um and it's always kind of been a well, just trust us, it works out, which mm, if
Yeah. And
iffy at best.
I'm sure that
um
probably fluctuates per user too.
yeah,
Because
it
they're
does.
splitting, you know, they're splitting that across like whoever you're watching that month to some extent.
Yeah,
Uh
right. And the thing is, though, it's been proven a few times that yeah, that's not really how they split it up. Like if you're a YouTube Premium subscriber and you only watch one channel, then the cut of that money does not seem to
right,
universally go to that one channel. It
right.
seems that it's actually, it seems like everyone is kind of subsidizing other channels a little bit at least. But yeah, there's a lot of weirdness to that one. Um, Carson saying YouTube's biggest cost is probably infrastructure, and I do agree on that. I don't dispute for a second that they do have huge infrastructure cost. Uh,
Well,
you know,
that's their only cost, right? I mean,
well,
like
I mean, they
besides
do
like
have developers and
yeah, these
legal costs,
developers,
lots of legal cost.
yeah,
Um,
the 5 support people that they have, you got to pay
right,
those.
and advocates and various other things. So I'm not, again, I don't dispute for a second. They do have some real costs, and that stuff's real. Um,
Carson's saying
but
other streaming services are not hosting nearly as much content. Yeah, because they keep deleting them for
yes.
for tax breaks.
Oh man, if the day ever comes that YouTube's like, "Oh, sorry, we deleted 2000 we deleted 2009." Like just
Yeah.
everything published in 2009. It's just gone. Sorry, we needed the tax break.
Yeah, we needed the tax breaks for Jacksepticeye's old videos. Sorry,
Yeah.
um, Captain
Sorry, no more
Sparkles has got to
Markiplier.
go.
Uh
Yeah,
he's gone. Um
Thanos snapped Markiplier for a tax cut.
I mean, if anyone can kind of absorb disappearing from YouTube, it's actually him because he's now moved into like movie production. And
Yeah.
so, he has an out. Also,
Carson said,
may
"What's
I
the
suggest, can we
context?"
also Thanos snap any of the Paul brothers out of existence? Not
Yeah,
just
there's a
off
lot
of
of
YouTube, but like just out of existence. That we don't need them. It's okay.
Mr. Beast. Just put
Oh
Mr.
god,
Beast
yes.
somewhere else. He doesn't. He can be somewhere else. It's not online. Carson
Venezuela.
said, "What's the context behind this joke? Like streaming services deleting shows and movies for tax break."
Specifically HBO.
Yeah, it's
HBO Max
mostly
was the
HBO
worst.
Warner. I
Um,
feel like Netflix might have done it with a few things, but it was mostly
well,
Warner Bros.
yeah,
And maybe Paramount.
well, Warner was most famous for it because they deleted, was it Batgirl? I think it,
Yes, yeah, the Batgirl movie
or
that was
Batwoman,
supposedly pretty
whatever.
much done. I think it was Batgirl.
Yeah, the movie had been fully shot, and it was in like post production, and they were just like, you know what? No, let's just kill this for the tax break. And it, in fairness, look, I know that I'm defending the stupidest thing ever, but in fairness, there were people who had access to that movie and saw the condition of it, and some of them said outright that that movie would have been an utter failure and it was in horrible shape. So deleting it probably actually was a good idea. If they released it, it probably would have been mocked relentlessly and it would have cost them a fortune because then they would have had to pay out a bunch on contracts and They wouldn't have gotten the tax breaks. Actually, they would have gotten some, but yeah, I actually think in that instance, they probably did make the right choice. Didn't they? They also deleted, what was it, like it wasn't Scooby Doo, or was it? It was some sort of movie that
Yes, it
had,
was. Yeah, it was the Looney Tunes live
Looney
action
Tunes, yeah.
movie. It was the
Oh, Roadrunner and Wile E.
Acme,
Coyote.
Acme versus Coyote, I
Oh,
think.
okay, yeah, that's what it was.
No, Coyote versus Acme, which did get they did find a buyer for that, so someone else will be
Releasing it
showing
someday.
that. Yeah. Carson said, "How do they get tax breaks from deleting content?"
Basically, all you have to do is say, we invested X amount of money. We are getting no return on that investment. Give us tax break. There you go. Also, there is a sneaky way. This is technically illegal, but when you're that size, it's not. You can also basically say, we anticipated making X amount of money, so we're writing off the fact that we didn't make the money that we thought we should have made. Again, it's illegal if we do it, not illegal when multi-billion-dollar companies do it. So,
yeah, I forget the exact mechanism, but something has to do with this with like the royalties that like actors and production staff gets when something is streamed, or when they get the rights to stream it or something. I forget exactly how it works, but basically it's just another way to avoid paying out you know, the people who made the thing. But yeah, I don't. Hopefully, this price increase is a little bit more money for the people whose videos I'm watching with my YouTube Premium. But wouldn't shock me if it's not. And
well,
need a little bit of revenue this quarter.
that was the other part that I was going to bring up, or rather, the second part of what I was going to say is, go ask any YouTube channel right now. Go ask how much money they're making off of ads and off of premium subscription payouts. That's not to say that some of them don't make good money. If you go ask a channel that pulls really insanely high view numbers, examples would include Smosh. Obviously, a lot of the music channels where their view counts hit like mini millions. If you include I don't know, basically any channel where your average view count is several million, okay, they're making enough money to make their videos worth it. If you find any channel where your view counts are under a million, almost every one of those channels, at least that I've seen and heard of, they'll all pretty much tell you, oh yeah, we appreciate getting an extra $10 or whatever on our video, but we're making nothing off of views. We're, the ads add up to like a few cents here and there. The premium subscriptions throw in another buck or two. Like, that's how bad it is. So they make all of their money at this point off of sponsorships again. Like, that's how bad it is, or that's how bad at least a lot of the channels claim things have gotten when it comes to payouts. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of back to almost where it was when people weren't making money off of YouTube itself. They were making money off of the sponsorships and everything else. So I see this and I think, if the price of a individual subscription is going up, in this case, what is it? Ballparking in my head, that looks to be about like 15%. At least on an individual. I don't know if that's quite right, but it's close enough. If it's going up about 15% or so, I don't think that's really going to make any difference to those channels. If if you were making uh I don't know, $3 a video on off of your premium subscribers, you're gonna make a whole $3.45. Like, yay! That's not really changing anything. That it just
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, I don't really buy that this is gonna do anything for the actual content creators. But it's gonna matter to YouTube. YouTube will reap the actual rewards of this, whereas content creators are gonna get the tiny raise. And it's a raise on an income stream that they already probably didn't care that much about. So yeah, I don't think this matters for them.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of things getting more expensive, um, there
Well,
was
this is kind of a good let's fit this in before the next topic, but I thought it was kind of funny because uh the new Xbox CEO, oh, what was her name, Asha Sharma, uh she is she's coming out basically saying, yeah, so the pricing on Game Pass has gotten too expensive, which, shocker. I mean, literally, when they raised the prices last time, everybody responded with a "Are you effing kidding us?" Because they doubled the price of the highest tier uh, Game Pass subscription, which was basically the access to everything version. Um, and then I forget what the ratios were on the others, but yeah, basically the last up or price hike was just extremely too high. Um, and again, like, everybody was looking at this saying it's too expensive. We had I'm not I'm not ambitious enough to go back and find the video where we covered this, but yeah, we all both Corbin and I were saying, yeah, this just costs too much. Like, there's no value proposition here, where your monthly cost of Game Pass, it only takes a couple of months or a few months, and you've paid for the game. Like, unless you're using a ton of games, like maybe you're a variety streamer and you're playing like 2 or 3 games a month at least, you may as well just buy stuff. Like, you can own it and maybe take months off of buying stuff, and you look at that, you've saved money really quickly by just not being a Game Pass subscriber. So yeah, it the prices just got far too high. And now the Xbox CEO is kind of coming out and admitting, uh or, well, not coming out, it was a leaked memo, but she's basically admitting, yeah, this has become a problem. We need to reevaluate and come up with a better solution for this. Um, and hello, thank you for subscribing. I don't have my thing up where I can see the name at the moment, but I will see it shortly.
I'll say about this. I don't know why my mouth is dry when I keep drinking water and it's not fixing it.
That is
I
actually a thing for me too. I've never
I
understood
will
it.
say about this. I think this is a non-story. I see this as the same exact thing as I think it was about a month ago when the someone at the Windows team uh, put out that blog post on like Microsoft's Windows Insider blog, basically being like, "Hey, we know Windows has got a little bad lately. We're sorry. We're learning. We're listening. Here's some changes we're gonna make." Um, and it's like, I know everyone inside Microsoft knew that Windows was bad. Like, just that's you had to have known. Like, we're all in the same world, hearing the same things. And like I know there are people inside Xbox who know that like it's getting way too expensive and doesn't make sense anymore, but it kept going up for whatever reason you want to put in here. Maybe it was the old leadership doing it, and now that they're gone, maybe something will change, or it was higher up executives or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But I see this story and I have the same response as the Windows thing, which is like, that's good that you've acknowledged the problem and might fix it. However, I am uh, uh, I will not give you the pat on the back until I see it actually changed and not quickly reversed by a equally bad change or dump. Like with the Windows thing, it's great that they're removing some of the Copilot buttons from everything and like toning down on the widget bar, which is just absolutely terrible UX. And like I don't know if we talked about that on stream, but like I would have loved to be fly on the wall for those conversations because I really want to know what prompted that. Was it like the MacBook Neo coming out and all the PC OEMs going, "Oh shit, we can't." It's hard to sell laptops when they're just like this bad of an experience, or was it something else? I don't know, but with the Windows thing, it's like, yeah, it's great. You're fixing a lot of the problems and you're going to make Windows less annoying. Are you going to add something else that is just as annoying in 3 months? That's my question.
The
So
answer, first off, to that is absolutely yes. It is in their nature to add more annoying things.
yeah, so I look at this Xbox thing the same way. It's like, yeah, if they're gonna lower the price, that's great. But I feel like they're gonna do something else that makes us not worth it. Like there were also separately, um, I don't know if they were like real or not. I don't have any basis for what game leaks are real or not real. But there was speculation that like not even like new Call of Duty games would be coming out day one on Game Pass, and it's like that was the point of a
Mm-hmm.
lot of this. So it's like, okay, maybe Game Pass gets cheaper in 3 months. Well, how many games are actually coming out on it moving forward on the release day, which was supposed to be the point? Maybe half, or like maybe they're gonna remove a lot of games at the same time. I don't know. So yeah, it's good if they want to lower the price, but I have a funny feeling that something else will happen at around the same time or before then that will make it still not as good of a value proposition as it was a year or two ago.
So I'm not disagreeing with any of that. Uh, where I think that this is different, and it's not very different. What I think is different about this is, again, this is a leaked memo, so read into that however you like. Was this like an intentional leak, or was this actually internal messaging that they didn't intend to go out? And we probably won't know the answer to that. But what I why am I getting so many freaking notifications? Um, the difference, as I see it, is we basically have what I would read to be sort of messaging saying we really think we need to figure out a better way to do this. Um, this is not like this isn't a plan. It's a call to make a plan, which I think does actually speak a little bit more to real intent as opposed to what you were describing, which is sort of a here's what we're going to tell people because we want them to think that we're fixing things, and then maybe we don't actually fix things, or maybe we make them worse. This, I'm not saying that they're not going to make it worse. Not even close. As a matter of fact, the first thing that comes to my mind when I see them saying, "Oh, our subscription service is too expensive," which it's weird when subscriptions are the thing that's are too expensive, because they're supposed to be framed as the cheaper option that is also supposed to give companies the most sustainable income, blah blah blah. And here they are kind of admitting, "Oh yeah, no, this doesn't work for anybody." But I the first thing that comes to my mind is they're probably going to just basically partition Game Pass into more tiers, which is basically just going to be like, "Hey, do you really want the true premium Game Pass? Here, pay $45 a month and you get access
which
to
is
everything."
which
And
is
then
what they kind of already have.
exactly.
Um,
And then they'll but I could see them breaking it down even more, like, "Oh, do you want Game Pass just for," I mean, they won't do this, but let's just say for action games and for first person shooters or whatever. Uh or more likely, what I could see them doing is sort of a Game Pass archives or something, where it's like, "Oh, anything that came out in the last 3 months, you don't get that, but everything else you get to have." Or they might do
or
a Game
only
Pass
first
with,
party something.
yeah, or they might even do just like, and man, this sounds so terrible, but Game Pass with ads. Um,
I mean, they were testing that, I believe. That
I'm
was
not at all
confirmed.
surprised. So yeah, to me, that's kind of where I see this possibly going. Is not not that they're necessarily going to make Game Pass cheaper, but that they're going to turn around and basically find some way to try to extract more money while being able to put back out a Game Pass subscription and say, "Oh, but if you want Game Pass and don't mind ads and don't mind that you're only getting like a small part of the library and blah blah blah, then you can have it for $8 a month." You know,
Hmm.
that's kind of where I envision this going. But if there's somebody that, see, this is where it breaks down, is the sentence does not end well. If there's somebody smart within the company, haha, uh, they're going to turn around and say, "Look, if you do this, everyone's going to hate you. This is absolutely going to fail. It will not, no one's going to be happy with the changes you make unless you do blank, blank, and blank. So find a way to make blank, blank, and blank work, or no one's going to like this. And the whole next Xbox generation is basically going to be screwed when you F up Game Pass again." That is I think what they're actually facing here. And
Yeah,
we don't
because
know
the
enough about hold on, need to look it up. Asha Sharma. We don't know enough about Asha Sharma's like psychology and way of approaching things to know whether or not she's going to uh whether or not she's going to pick up the clues that much smarter people are going to probably try to tell her. Um but maybe she will. Maybe she is the type of person who can look at that and go, "Oh, you know what? Uh you're right. There's a lot here that needs to be fixed, and if we want to keep gamers in and we want the next Xbox generation to succeed, then we have to actually commit to doing things a certain way while also finding a smart way to make it sustainable." And in many cases, what's going to suck is that's probably going to come back to more reducing cost, not extracting more money. And that's going to be rough, because it probably does mean killing off some indie games. It probably does mean killing off a few things. It might mean lowering some of the budgets on the big AAA games. Though I feel like that's probably the one place where they're not willing to do too many sacrifices, which is also funny because most of those AAA games also extract tons of money through microtransactions, or at this point, macro transactions. But we'll see. Anyway, I apologize if I'm saying this wrong, but Jamar, from Australia. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the
Howdy.
channel.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a lot more to say except just that, like, the fate of Game Pass and the fate of Xbox are pretty intertwined, as you said. So it's going to depend a lot on what they do, or if Xbox is kind of just on its way out, then they need to figure out how to make this appealing primarily for PC
Right.
players, which they've been. That's always been like one of the tiers or one of the focuses, but I don't know if they're doing that in the best way. I know the for a long time the whole like Xbox app Microsoft Store on Windows was abysmal. My understanding is that it's better now, but it's probably still not as functional as Steam and other avenues of getting stuff. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens.
It's funny you mentioned that because I guess to kind of build on your point, in my mind, through the entire time the Game Pass has existed, I have always perceived it as a thing mostly for the consoles. And I'm well aware it's for PC too, but it has always felt like it has been there mostly for consoles. Um,
I would agree. That's been the main thing,
it,
especially as the consoles lean towards digital. Um,
yeah.
where like it's like, well, I don't have the disc drive, so my options are buy the game digitally or get the subscription. Which, granted, is also the same option for a lot of
Yeah.
PC players, but in some cases you can download games that you like actually own
Well,
as like a file on your computer versus you can't do that on any console.
and most PC players, I feel like when they want a game, they're going to Steam for it. They're not going, certainly at this stage, I don't think most of them are going to stores and buying the game off of shelves. I know that still happens,
Right.
but I I feel like at this stage that's kind of a thing of the past. Um and unless you're going for like the collectible aspect, like you just really want the box, or more likely
Hmm.
the collectible tin with the action figure. I know it's not an action figure, but you know what I mean. um Something like that. Or uh, I'm sure there's some number of people who are going to the Xbox store on Windows and buying stuff off of there, but it just feels like fewer.
Hmm.
um so the interesting thing though is, if the next Xbox is, as the rumors suggest, basically a true PC that is running Windows, like Windows proper, that just has a coat of paint on it, and in so many ways it's supposed to just be a full PC rather than a console as we think of it today. uh maybe they need to slash will, or are intending to change the Game Pass marketing and like the presentation of it to just say, yeah, this is for PC. I don't know that that really plays into this cost factor, but maybe it does, or at least in the marketing sense. That being said, also, um, uh, if that is what the next Xbox is going to be, they basically have to kill off that differentiation between the plans, where one is for console, one is for PC, because that won't make any sense at all uh with the next Xbox generation. Not to say that it made any sense before. Really quick side rant, that was one of the man, ugh, everything about Xbox infuriates me because they create artificial separations that never made any sense at all. The Series S versus Series X coming out at the same time, basically saying, "Hey, developers, tune your game to two different hardware levels for absolutely no good reason. We just want to be able to put something on store shelves that people can buy that game developers are all going to say, we hate this because we have to make games basically for a last gen console and the current gen console at the same time. I know that's a little bit of an
Mhm.
exaggeration, but it is what it is. No developer was actually happy with that. Many of them spoke out. They split up Game Pass into console versus PC, or you could pay a whole lot to have access to both. That was dumb. Um, I know that there are more things that I'm blanking on what they are, but man, it's so many things about Xbox piss me off. They did a lot of it wrong. Anyway, sorry. Side rant done. Um, did you want to say any more on that?
No, I sold my Xbox and got a PS5, so I'm agreeing in principle.
Um, Not gonna
Although,
lie, I am thinking about doing this. Well, I've got the PS5, but I'm thinking about selling the Xbox. The only thing that's stopping me, or not only thing, I'm also just kind of lazy about it. But one of the things stopping me from doing it is I'm sitting here like, I mean, I already have it, and I've got all these Bing reward points. I kind of want to keep using them to buy new seasons of the Overwatch Battle Pass for free.
mm,
And it's like, is that
true.
really worth? Like, I can sell this thing for more right now because tariffs have ruined the entire world. But here I am using this for $2 every 10 weeks or whatever. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Not really sane, but there we go. So, moving on to Microsoft's other thing, which does involve prices going up, the Surface PCs are getting more expensive because, of course, they are.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this. It's just kind of funny. Um, this article, granted, this is on Mac Rumors. This is the biased take, but they're reposting Windows Central. And they point out that the 12-inch Surface Pro, which is like their main like tablet two-in-one convertible thing, started at $799. It's now $1,000 50 or $1,050. Sorry, I can't speak. And then the 13-inch Surface laptop was $899. It's now 1,149. And then the 13-inch laptop went from $1,000 to $1,500. The other products are all going up a few $100s each, so I don't need to go down the list, but it's just more price increases from memory, and I don't feel like Surface PCs were that popular to begin with. Um, Even yeah, it's like I don't know. There's a really bizarre thing that has happened in the last the last year or two of PCs, made worse or made stronger by the memory price hikes, but it was already happening before that, which is an inverse Apple tax. Where for years it was always like, oh, you're paying more because it's an Apple thing, right? It's got the Apple logo on the back, so it's just going to automatically cost more. Get a PC that's the same, price, performance, battery life. And the M series chips started to flip that around. It's like, okay, well, now you can get a laptop that's like, you know, as powerful as a lot of PC laptops, vastly more power efficient, for the same price or less. And now we're getting to the point where you can get a MacBook Neo for 650. Is that what the price was? Let me see.
You'd think we'd
Uh,
remember this, but
yeah. Well, I don't. I mean, my brain's not. Okay, from $600 is the starting price.
even worse.
MacBook Neo for 1600 for $600, not 1600. Sorry, still can't talk. I looked earlier today. A M5 MacBook Air is still under 1,000 at Amazon. So when you look at these and then look at like every comparable PC laptop going up to like $1,200, $1,500, $2,000. Now you're paying a tax if you want something besides a Mac. Yeah, Carson said 500 with the student discount. Yeah, for the MacBook Neo. Like now there's if you want, you know, if you want a laptop to play games, or if you want desktop Linux to be a good, relatively stable experience, which is not on Apple Silicon still, uh, you will be paying more for that. In the same way that an Apple text was regarded 5, 10 years ago as like, oh, you want a computer with Final Cut? You're going to pay more. Sorry, that's just how it is. Now we've completely flipped that around. Um, Something I do want to write about when I get the mental bandwidth to do that. It's been a long last 2 weeks, but it is like a bewildering topic. I didn't think a few years ago we'd be in the position where Apple is running away as the value leader. Not even value leader, just like affordability. Like we're value leading was like the conversation we were having 2 or 3 years ago with early Apple Silicon chips. Now it's like this computer is objectively cheaper. If you're looking at like MacBook Air, MacBook Neo, this computer is objectively cheaper than most of the competition, and also better in most ways.
I I actually have some ways that to expand on your position here, which is going to turn this really weird. Okay, so first, let me be clear. This is about to trail off into phones in
Obama
a little bit.
Voice.
Huh?
Obama voice. Let me be clear.
Yes. Um, but first, regarding PCs, think I think I kind of see why this would logically be happening. And it's such a weird situation, but I think a lot of it is because one, obviously, people don't need to update their hardware a whole lot lately.
Right.
So, and the only reason you need to really update your hardware is actually because Windows is forcing you to. Uh, if you bought a computer just like, what, 3 years ago, there's a very real chance that it won't be able to use the next version of Windows. Um, and the same thing happened with Windows 11. Like, if you bought a Windows 10 PC, just I think the most recent hardware before Windows 11 came out that couldn't use Windows 11 was something like 18 months. Maybe it was even 12 months before. Something like that. There was some really short gap where something bought just before that time couldn't use Windows 11, which left obviously a lot of people pretty infuriated. Um, but besides that, the hardware really it it's holding up for the most part, unless you really care about like local AI stuff. Then the hardware that you bought, honestly, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but the hardware you bought in like 2018 might actually still be perfectly good to use, assuming you're not trying to do some sort of AI stuff. You could still
Right.
very realistically play games on it. You could still very realistically be doing all of your like office work or anything like that. You might not want to be doing a lot of video editing with like 4K video, but if you're working with like 1080p, you're good. Like, none of this stuff is really inhibited that much, and the hardware hasn't really changed so much that you're crying for over performance any more than you would have been in at that time. Um, Not to say that things haven't improved or gotten faster, but they just aren't making big leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that being said, uh, the one area where the demands are still high is gaming. And gaming is a huge market. No one's going to dispute that. But when you do the like what percentage of computers are sold, gaming is a relatively small market. I mean, for the number of people that actually care about like high-end recent games. Um and
Yeah, and I'm
likewise,
not going to make the argument that like Macs are what you should be buying if you care about that. That's
Oh, no, no,
still
no. That's not where I was going with this.
unquestionably, yeah.
Um, where I'm going is, as a result of all of this, I think, and I haven't looked into this, but I know I've heard it mentioned, PC sales in general have been in the toilet. Like the number of people buying new PCs in any given year, it keeps going down. And some people, depending on what narrative you're trying to spin, a lot of people try to turn that into, oh, well, more people are turning to their phones, or people are getting tablets. No, they're not. Um, or more people are.
I think we were sorry to cut you off. I think we were going in that direction, and then COVID happened, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, I can't do work from a tablet.
Yeah.
Actually, I need a computer." So there was that huge spike in 2020 and 2021 for
Yes.
computers, and now I'm sure like there's probably going to be like without looking at any data, could be completely wrong, talking out of my ass. I'm sure there's going to be like an increased spike now from everyone who upgraded in 2020 and
Yeah.
2021 needing PCs, but like in that slump we're in now, yeah, there's not going to be much activity. And that was also what like all the like industry people were saying in like 2022 when like sales were on the floor. It's like, yeah, everyone got their computers,
Yep.
a year ago, and like you said, they're still fine for most people for a very long time. So
Yeah. And really, so the only draw for a lot of people to do upgrades is for gaming. And the reason all of this stuff matters is because when you get back to the classic rules of supply and demand, right now there's no demand. So there's a lot of supply, or there could be a lot of supply. RAM prices being the obvious, throwback issue. Um, but the counter to that is when there's not a lot of demand and there's not a lot of sales being made, the way to still make money is to raise prices on the thing that you're not selling as much of. So we're seeing prices going up on these systems
mhm.
because no one needs to buy them. No one needs to do upgrades. So the way the company has to make money is, oh, instead of making 1 million sales this quarter, we're only going to make 500,000. In order to fix that, we need to raise our prices, 30%, 40%, whatever. So
Mm.
that's what they're doing. Like they're literally just boosting their margins so that they can make up for lost sales. And they know full well that raising their prices some is going to lose more sales, but as long as they raise them sufficiently, then it'll cover those lost sales. Whereas Apple is in a situation where they, at the same time, were basically already on a trajectory of making hardware that was going to cost them much, much less to manufacture. And as a result, they coincidentally at the same time were coming out with hardware that was going to be cheaper. And it put them in a wonderfully opportunistic position of being able to say, hey, we're now the low cost guys. Um, so yeah, let's just take over a huge chunk of this market and or offer the thing that is very attractive in this chunk of the market. And yeah, they basically get a ton of people bought into their ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a lot of vertical integration like that. The MacBook Neo especially is like the crowning achievement of Apple's vertical integration. It's like, yes, we can make a cheap laptop that is pretty good because it is recycled iPhone parts.
Yeah,
Um,
very
and
recycled.
yeah, like just vertical integration. And also, my understanding is that they got pretty lucky with like orders for important components. So, like, they're not quite as starved for storage and RAM supplies as some other companies, but I don't know what the current status is on that. But yeah, it's just a lot of things come together to the point where like weirdly Apple is like that's what you should be looking as default, and then your conversation of like, oh, I really don't like Mac OS, or like, oh, I want to play games, or like want Linux or something else, like then you're going down the decision tree of like, okay, buy one of these PCs.
Yeah.
But
As long as you don't need it for gaming, then, right now, and we've said this so many times, it makes more sense getting a Mac. Um,
yeah, I mean, there's plenty of reasons. Like I know, like Mac OS is not everyone's cup of tea, and I
right.
I certainly can appreciate that. Like whenever I have to click through like 15 prompts to open an app that I downloaded on my computer.
Yes.
Um, but like it's crazy to see the turnaround. That's not something I would have ever expected.
And on that particular angle, the other thing I was going to add, which maybe you use this when you do write about it, maybe not. Um, it occurs to me that of all the companies, Google has become the phone to get if you want value or a good pricing for your upgrades. Um, Something that I've said this in the past, almost every year. Actually, I end up saying this, and I believe I wrote about it at Android Police. I don't know for sure if I did. I know I pitched it. I know I started writing it. I don't know if it ever actually ended up being finished. But every year, I end up upgrading my Pixel phone, and every year I do it for almost nothing. Um, I'm usually not doing it on launch day anymore. Typically, I'm waiting a month or 2 months, something like that, maybe three. This recent upgrade was the longest I've waited. I think it was like 5 months, something like that. Um, the thing is, I'm literally upgrading to the newest one every single year, and it's costing me about $100, give or take 20, 25, 30 bucks, something like that. Every year I'm upgrading for that much to the latest flagship, and this isn't even like the budget version. I'm upgrading to a Pro XL, their largest one. I'm not going for the highest storage options, but I'm upgrading to the largest physical phone that they make, not counting the Fold. So, name any other company you can do that with. Apple, you can't even consider doing upgrades at that kind of pricing. Samsung, you used to be able to. Actually, Samsung, you used to be able to do practically free upgrades on launch day. But those trade-in programs with Samsung have been gone for a few years now. At this stage, it's kind of weird to say, but Google, the company that was, dare I say, the crazy overpriced, like we're trying to compete with Apple with our premium everything take, uh they're the budget guys. It's really a weird turnaround in that place too, because it used to be Samsung, like I said, was the one you used to be able to upgrade practically for free every year. Now it's Google.
Yeah, crazy times we live in. Um, Carson said, "It's mind-boggling that I need a third-party app on macOS to use different scroll directions between the trackpad and external mouse." Yeah, that's still dumb. Um,
I will agree with you. Yeah, we shouldn't need a third party thing. That should just be something in the OS. Very notably, it is something, or at least as I understand it, it is something in the OS. The third party program isn't doing anything special. It's just an app that can access the different setting that otherwise, I think you can. I could be wrong on this. I think you can literally use a command line to do it, but the
hmm,
third party app just does that part for you. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's not doing anything
I'm
too
not.
special.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know the Logitech app I know has to toggle this for me for my mouse, and I know because like sometimes if the mouse like disconnects for a second, and then comes back, my scroll direction will be back to the system default for like a second or two, and then it switches back. So they're doing something funky to make that work. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, and he also said, yeah, I was basically convinced I would not be getting a Pixel 10 this year and would wait for the 11. Um, that is also like how I was going with the Galaxy upgrades for a while, because I went from the S20, I think, to the S21, and then to the S23, I believe. And that S20 to S21 jump, I think, was like $50 with the trade in or something like that. Like, just like, yeah, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, and uh, it's I was in the same place. Like, I did not see any chance that I was going to be getting a Pixel 10 this year, but that combination of the steep sale price plus that discount code, like you
Mm-hmm.
put those two together, and the cost of upgrade was so low. Plus, obviously, I still had some store credit left over. Yeah, at that stage, it's too good to pass up, and um, that's how it's been every year. Usually, I don't even need the discount code, or it's not for as much. But yeah, every single year I get to do these upgrades, and it's like, why wouldn't I? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's such a good value to do it. Plus, every year they're giving you a free year of Gemini AI Pro, and it's like, or Google AI Pro. So it's an even better deal. Like, they're practically paying us to take the phone. I There's no way I wouldn't do these upgrades as long as this continues. It's too good of a deal, and it's so weird that this is the company that everyone complained when the Nexus prices, which were, you know, kind of budgetish, but not really. And everyone had that narrative that Nexus meant good but cheap. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Then they went to Pixel, and it's like, oh, the prices went up. Google turned their backs on everybody. No, they didn't. First off, I still hate that narrative because it was never true. It was so false. If you look back over the history of the phones and their prices, none of that was ever remotely true. They had like two phones that were actually legitimately low cost budget phones. Um, but then you factor in that the prices did go pretty high, and to the point where everyone's like, oh my god, Google's more expensive than Samsung, or they're taking on Apple's pricing and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, sure, yeah, Google's become the expensive phone, and now forget it. If you're looking to upgrade yearly or every other year, mostly yearly, man, Google, it's just a no-brainer. Like, the consistently, as long as you're willing to wait a couple of months after the launch, you can probably get the upgrades so close to free. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I
Like,
don't think I'm ever doing launch upgrades again, unless I get to I actually do get some YouTube videos out of it, and I've got like a I'm gonna make my money back kind of perspective on it. Then I'll
right.
I'll I'll keep doing it, or rather, I'll start doing it again. But for right now, yeah, I'm fully into the just wait a little while and upgrade when I want to upgrade, or upgrade when it gets cheap.
Yeah, I did do the launch day release for my most recent phone, which is the iPhone 15. I got like 2.5 years ago, I think it is now. Because it was I want I was using the iPhone SE mostly at the time, and this was the first USB-C normal iPhone. And I was like, yep, I'm getting that one. I'm just gonna keep this for a while. So that was my launch day splurge. and don't know if that will happen again. Don't really have a reason to. The battery life on this phone is finally starting to tank, so probably in a couple months I'll get battery replacement and then keep on trucking for another 2 years, maybe. I don't know. And until I have a reason to have a newish phone again, the reason has not presented itself. And this phone's still fine. It's still good. Good cameras, all that fun stuff. Just the battery that's getting a little stinky.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Um,
Um,
Amazon
so
Vine for Pixel. Uh, I look. I will say this in all seriousness. Uh, I get the Pixel obviously from Google for the crazy trade in deals, and then I get my cases off of Vine. Some good cases pop up on Vine. I'm just saying. Um, I I actually have my Pixel 10 Pro XL in a Vine case right now, which I don't have totally positive things to say, but it's not a bad case.
I think I need
And
to get a new case. Or rather, I have a few, but like I go between them, so they're all like in various stages of falling apart, or really smelling weird is the issue. Where like it's if I get them like wet too much, like if it's in the rain or I just leave it in the shower or whatever, like the plastics start to smell weird. Um, so that's been annoying. Um, and also
okay, Corbin.
uh, I'm not doing anything weird to them. It's just like water too much. I don't know.
If you say so, bud.
I'm not doing anything weird with the phones. I can assure you. I can
Whatever.
assure you and the audience.
We
So
believe you. We believe you.
okay,
We trust. We
your
trust you.
tone suggests otherwise. Um, okay, so it's almost 9 o'clock here, so I think I have like one decent sized topic left in me, and then I need to continue doing boring
um.
work.
Okay. Well, let's see.
Show me the Dave says show me the Patreon. Yeah, it's patreon.com/Corbin Davenport.
I yeah.
It's
Which is
for my web apps.
yeah. That's actually just a link to your OnlyFans.
But
Okay.
if I had an OnlyFans, and that is also only for the web apps. You can
Uh.
get exclusive selfies of me writing in Visual Studio Code, and I'm fully clothed, and it's just a normal picture of me at my computer.
Okay. So if you only want to do one more, there's what four topics here if I'm counting correctly. Um, which which thing do you actually care about?
Um, I haven't looked at the the last one. So I guess I'll just do the quick PSA for that one, and then I'll do the quick PSA and the quick Chrome thing because they're both quick.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so quick public service announcement. You may have already seen this, but for a while, if you downloaded Hardware Monitor, the program for Windows, or it was CPU Z, which is the app I downloaded. If you downloaded one of those uh, recently, you may have downloaded malware because the website hosting them got uh, taken over briefly and was used to distribute malicious versions. So there is a Reddit post where someone has compiled a lot of the data about this. I believe it's version. I don't know the affected versions. They did not say this clearly. But just if you've downloaded it recently, one of those, you'll want to delete that and then grab it again. Supposedly, the people running that website have it back now, and the version available through there is not malware. But just an FYI, check that. If you know someone else who maybe has downloaded that, maybe double check with them. And I don't know what versions it was that was specifically. And I think they're saying version 1.63 for hardware monitor. Yes, that is in the title I now see. And I'm not sure which version of CPU Z.
You mean CPU ID?
No, I believe it's CPU Z.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have a version listed for CPU Z. It doesn't look like. I'm doing Control F in the comments, but yeah, just if you have those, maybe delete them and download them again, just to double check, and tell your friends.
Yeah. And I don't remember what it was anymore, but it was only a few months ago that there was something else that the same thing had happened to.
You're probably thinking of Notepad++.
That's the one. Yep.
Which they didn't. I don't believe they ever had their website or like main distribution compromised. It was their built-in updater
Right.
was not doing enough verification, so someone could man in the middle that and feed you a infected version as an update. So yep, just normal cybersecurity stuff that sucks and is annoying. And then last thing for me is Chrome has vertical tabs now. So I have never been a vertical tabs guy, just because my preferred way of working most of the time is split screen with browser window on one or both sides. And in that view, if I had vertical tabs, I'm cutting off a pretty decent amount of my screen real estate. But like, not everyone works that way. Maybe you've got more horizontal room. Maybe you don't do split screen that much, and you just want the wider full window. And if you're a vertical tabs person, it's now in Chrome. So very similar to what was already in like Arc browser and Firefox and Microsoft Edge, and I believe Vivaldi has had this too. Maybe others, I don't know, but yeah, it's just a toggle. You can switch between tabs on the top or tabs on the side, and when they're on the side, it's just like a list in your sidebar, and it otherwise works pretty much exactly as tabs always work. It's just a different way of organizing your stuff. Your tabs go vertically instead of horizontally, so potentially easier to read if you have a tall enough screen.
Okay, so I have a question and a comment based on that question. What happens if you have multiple windows? Can this be a per window thing, or if you change to vertical tabs, does it do it to all windows?
That is a good question. I've not tried this. Let me see if my Chrome is updated. I do not have this.
Yeah,
Maybe I need to.
It doesn't appear that I have this either.
It's a slow rollout, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, there is a flag for vertical tabs. So I'm going to enable that. Okay, so I'm going to open some tabs here. And I'm going to click Show Tabs Vertically. Okay, it's now vertical. Also, this doesn't give me much room to like grab the window after I do this. Like I try.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
Top. It's selecting the address bar because the address bar is full width and like all the buttons are here. So the main grabby bit I have is really just the little gap on the left side.
It's already pretty narrow, even with horizontal tabs, but
Yeah, they gotta add some more grabby bits. At least on Mac. I don't know. Maybe Windows, it's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna open another window, and it is vertical tabs by default. If I switch to horizontal tabs, it is for all windows.
okay. Then I hate this. Um,
Mm.
because I see this being especially based on their animated graphic on this blog post. I can I can see scenarios where I would really love to have a little bit more space from top to bottom, and I'd be willing to put very recognizable website icons just on the left side. I would actually be very happy to narrow it down to just the icon. I don't need the name. Um, and that would be really effective in some situations. I don't want to do that with all the windows. That would be a nightmare on some of them. It would only be useful in certain situations. So I hate this. I will never use this. It's dumb. That is
Yeah,
that is my
again,
well informed, uh, completely even opinion on this. There's no way I'm wrong.
yeah. I mean, again, my pretty much all my serious browser work is it's in split screen, so I'm already at a premium for uh horizontal space, and this eats up a bigger chunk of it. If I was like mostly working in just one window at a time, I think this would be a productivity boost for me, but I'm not usually using this. So, it's there if you want it. Obviously, some people want it because I see people using it in Firefox and Vivaldi all the time. But not for me. No, thank you. Also, I'm not even using Chrome. I'm using Edge. I'm I'm back on, at least for the moment. I was on Firefox for a while. Right now, I'm back on Edge with my trademark just the browser configuration, ripping out all the annoying bits.
So you're actually confessing to being an edge lord.
Yeah, I'm edging.
All right. Um. Okay. So, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this. I guess good for the people who are going to use it. I have too many windows open at all times, and this just wouldn't work for me. But you know,
Yep.
each to their own, I guess. Um. So I know you were thinking about taking off. Do you want to stick around just for the relatively quick things that I would say about the DaVinci Resolve photo page?
I cannot.
Okay,
I gotta go, and also I need to use the restroom as well.
fair enough.
I've been here a while.
Okay,
Down this entire water that did not solve my thirst problem.
fair, very fair. Um, some of us are just more like camels because I swear I've gone through this one of these whole bottles, and I just started my second one, and I'm good to go for a while. But though I still feel thirsty, I'm in that same spot
Yeah,
where
it was entirely to like, can my mouth stop being dry? And the answer is no.
no,
It's still just as dry.
no, there's some mechanic wherein drinking water just does not seem to correct for thirst. I would love to one day go down the YouTube rabbit hole that explains this, because there has to be one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it goes. All right, well, good luck on your quest to the bathroom and your quest
Thank
to
you.
serve your thirst.
Thank you. All right.
Is there anything you want to say before you go, or?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well,
Okay, bye.
good parting words. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, like I said, actually, we'll just do me over here. Does that make sense? Sure, we'll do that. Um, Actually, I'm not sure that works any better with the microphone hanging out the edge. It almost works worse. Oh well, whatever. So we're just gonna rock with this. Um. All right. So as mentioned, the next thing, actually, we were going to do this in a different order. It doesn't matter. But the next thing, and we did talk about it a little bit in Discord, kind of. But DaVinci Resolve, which is made by Black Magic, obviously, I've been something of a fan of this company for a while because they make some pretty incredible hardware. But ignore that. We're going to talk about the even more incredible video editing software that they build. But ignore that. We're not going to talk about video editing. We're going to briefly talk about photo editing because they are adding a photo page to DaVinci Resolve. Um, as the title on this Engadget article says, and this kind of exemplifies it pretty well. This is going to effectively take on Adobe Lightroom. Now, I don't fully agree with that narrative because, and I guess I'll get to why in a moment. But yeah, it's not really just Lightroom that they're taking on, and I don't know that I would even agree that Lightroom is specifically in the crosshairs in this situation. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but the very simple explanation is DaVinci, or rather Blackmagic, is showing off DaVinci Resolve 21 at NAB 2026. That's, I believe, still going on, or maybe it just wrapped up. I'm not sure which. NAB is one of the biggest events of the year. Think of it as CES, but almost exclusively for camera gear, video production, photography, really anything in that space. So if you follow those types of companies at all, this is the week you're hearing about all their stuff. It, like I said, it is basically CES for them. Or maybe Mobile World Congress would be a better comparison because CES is a whole lot of junk. NAB is, yeah, and Mobile World Congress are kind of like the real things. Anyway, so DaVinci Resolve 21, they're adding a photo page. So anyone who knows DaVinci Resolve, you've seen that across this bottom tab, actually, would it be better? Yeah, a little higher resolution image there. If you look across the very bottom, there are these icons that go from left to right. The idea is that they basically are the steps of uh, editing, producing a film, or anything from a YouTube video up to a film. Um, so you basically start with your media import, then you go through, skip that one that's right next to media import. That's the new photos tab. But then you have a cut and edit page. Those are two different things. There's the cut page, the edit page. They do the same thing but differently. Then you get into Fusion. That's the magic wand. The next is a color page. Then there's the audio page or sound page. And then finally the export page. Okay, this one over here next to the import, that's the photo page. And basically what it's going to do is edit photos. Not a lot of mystery to that one. The really neat thing is DaVinci Resolve has always been known throughout all of video editing as basically one of the best places that you can do work on color. So their color tools have been absolutely spectacular. Um, so their ability to do uh, how to describe this? They have a node based workflow where basically you create a node that does a particular task, and then you can augment like what parts that node applies to, how that node works, things like that. And so uh, to make this make a little bit more sense, just using this image as a easy example, You could, let's say, create a node and have it only apply to a section of the photo or a section of the image that fits within certain color ranges and luminance values. So you might only pick things that are a certain amount of light or dark, and a certain amount of blue. And that would select just that sky. It wouldn't get anything else. It would only get the sky. And, that's one way that you can limit it. Obviously, you could also do it with masking. You can do it with a bunch of different techniques. But then once you just have the sky, you can change the sky by maybe increasing saturation. You could lighten it, darken it. You could turn it to a different color, whatever. And then you could have a separate node. Usually these are like parallel nodes that might affect everything else. Or you can break it down further and do all kinds of different things. And these nodes also apply in series. If when you see this actually in action, if you're a programmer or have ever learned anything about programming, this all makes so much sense. It is so much better than using the tools in any other editor. When I first saw how this stuff works, I was immediately like, oh, this is for me. Yeah, 100%. I'm done with anything else. I never want to touch any other editor ever again. DaVinci Resolve is where I want to live for the rest of my life with videos. Because it is the mindset of a programmer. It's step-by-step processes that are all, or at least if you're doing them correctly, they're all basically individual tasks that are performed by an individual step, and it all just lives in a flow chart. It's so much more intuitive to that mindset. Anyway, this has always been done for video. Now they're basically putting those tools into a separate page for photo editing. It's going to work with all of the classic RAW formats. Obviously, you can also use regular images that aren't in RAW format. I can see how maybe this might not be entirely ideal for all scenarios, but it looks like it's going to be really cool. They're also going to have a lot of the same features for like masking and picking out individual parts of your image that you want to edit. So all of that stuff is going to be pretty cool. Same sort of thing as we've seen in the past. Now, what I don't know, and I haven't seen this mentioned, is whether, well, first off, what I'm really sure I don't know is whether or not this is going to have any sort of direct editing features. Now, it's going to have the ability to do processing, or what people refer to as raw processing. That much is obvious. What's less clear is whether or not this is going to have basically the Photoshop aspect. Like once you finish processing your raw, are you then going to have to export it and then throw it into Photoshop or Affinity Photo or Pixelmator or something like that? Right now, it seems like they're probably not going to have those features. I kind of don't expect them to have those features. I don't blame them for not having those because that's not something that you really do much in video editing. So yeah, I doubt they're going to have too many of those things right now, but maybe someday that could happen. The other thing, and this is why I think that this isn't going to be a direct Lightroom competitor, at least not today, is while it will have raw processing, it's not going to have the catalog. There's no sign that this has the catalog features, which is that's kind of why I was hoping Corbin would stick around, is because the catalog feature is almost specifically the reason a lot of people still stick with Lightroom, which I think is a little insane, but it is what it is. And as far as I can tell, they also don't have like a workflow for things like the culling process. That's culling, culling. Um, and culling is what you do when, let's say, you're a wedding photographer, just using an example, or any event photographer. You don't sit you when you go to those events, you're going to fire off like hundreds, maybe thousands of photos. And then you go back to the office, sit down, and you go through those photos, and it's like you quickly pick which photos to keep. And so you're just looking through, and you might have like 20 photos standing outside of a spot with a group of people who are all sort of posing or standing there or something. And it's like, okay, in this one that person blinked, and this one this person was looking down or to the left, and you go through and quickly just eliminate all the photos that you can't use, and then you go back through and you narrow it down to just the one photo you're going to keep out of a batch. And so out of, let's say, out of a few hundred photos, you come away with like 40 that are actual keepers that you're going to use. Maybe a wedding, you might come away with like 100 out of 1,000 plus photos. So that's the kind of thing that you really want software that simplifies that process. There are ways to do this without special software. I definitely did it with a lot of like review photos, but generally speaking, you want something that makes that easier. And DaVinci Resolve does not appear to be getting that kind of thing, at least not yet. Maybe in the future, I don't know. But yeah, to me that's kind of that's kind of where Lightroom still excels, and where I think a lot of that is going to make a big difference. However, there's also a large group of people that just don't need that kind of thing, and so this is definitely going to be good for them. Very notably, one of the biggest reasons that I still use Affinity Photo at all was because of raw processing, and I kind of won't need to do that at all in Affinity Photo if I've got Lightroom. Or sorry, not Lightroom, DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is going to basically completely remove any reason I had for using Affinity Photo for raw processing. Unfortunately, and this gets us back to that other part, I still need to do the editing. And Affinity Photo is probably going to be still my pick for the editing portion. And yeah, if if DaVinci Resolve isn't doing that, then yeah, I'll either have to make my workflow go across two apps, which is kind of inconvenient, or I'll stick to Affinity Photo because I can do raw processing there, move over, do some edits to a photo, and then go back and start doing more raw processing. That's one of the workflows that exists in Affinity Photo, which makes it kind of better in this scenario. So, yeah, I'm really stuck on what to do with this. I haven't decided. And until this rolls out and stable, I'm probably not going to play with it. I might. I don't know. There's a part of me that's kind of thinking about picking up the DaVinci Resolve beta, and because I'm on Studio, but yeah, I'm thinking about picking up the beta and tinkering with it, because some of the other things that they've added are also pretty cool. I'm not gonna go into a big long thing about that, but let's see. They, I think, mentioned a few of the things here. Let's see. Da, da, da. They've got some compositing tools and new VR tools. Which, okay, that's all good. I wonder if they added anything for working on 3D video, because that workflow was not great last time I tried it. Or sorry, not 3D video, but 360 degree video. So taking something from like an Insta360 X5 or whatever, um, or from the anti-gravity A1, the drone that I talked about a few months back. Um, those they're really cool to work with, but they the workflow of using them inside of any current editors is not very good. It's fine if you go through some extra steps to prep the video for them. It's workable, but I don't think it's good. So you really still have to edit a lot of the 360 video inside of whatever app the company makes to handle that video, and then export a semi-finished video that you then take into DaVinci Resolve and do the rest of your edits. And I don't like that workflow. I really want to see Blackmagic and Adobe and Apple and everyone else actually work with Insta360, DJI. Is there anyone else doing 360 video? I don't think GoPro is doing it yet. Maybe they are. I haven't actually checked. Um, and truthfully, I'm not even sure GoPro is going to be around too much longer, but we'll see. Um, anyway, so yeah, that's there's that. They also, oh, okay. Here was the paragraph. On top of the photo page, Blackmagic Design introduced a number of new features for video and video effects as well. Among the most interesting are a series of AI tools for facial adjustments. Look, I'm not personally super big on that sort of thing, but I I did find this kind of interesting that they decided to use a particularly not great human being and age them substantially in a slightly froggy kind of looking way. Um, let's see. So the AI face age transformer tools let you analyze a face, enter the subject's age, and adjust the age offset slider to add things like wrinkles and facial fullness. You can also change the way a subject looks through the AI face reshaper tool that lets you adjust the eyes, nose, mouth, eyebrows, and overall face shape. How much would this be useful? I don't know. I guess it depends on how good it is, but that is kind of interesting. There's also a blemish removal feature that reduces the appearance of superficial skin imperfections like acne, discoloration, and large pores, while retaining the skin's natural texture. That's pretty cool. Assuming that it doesn't do that thing that most filters do, where it just makes people look smooth, like that really creepy like porcelain smooth blurred out look. I detest that. Assuming that this is better, and I expect it is, then it actually could be really awesome for people who just need to clean up basic skin imperfections. So yeah, anyway, that's the DaVinci Resolve thing. Final topic. This one actually kind of stems from a much earlier thing from a few weeks ago. The FCC banned wireless routers made from outside the US. This was stupid. They basically said any wireless router made outside the US is banned unless you get special permission, seeing as literally every wireless router that is in any way, shape, or form close to mainstream is manufactured outside the US. Even if they're US companies, they still manufacture outside the US. This is like, that's the thing. They all do their manufacturing in China, Mexico, or wherever, and then import them. They still have full control of the hardware, but if they're manufactured elsewhere, tough luck. Well, the FCC, headed by Brendan Carr, a pretty well-known piece of garbage, has has finally given permission to its first company to be a foreign made router that is excluded from the ban, and it's going to Netgear. I can't pretend to be surprised. Netgear is one of those companies that has been around forever. Um, uh, let's see, really quick, if I double check, was Netgear one of those that? No. Okay, It's not. It's not. Who is the one who's owned by Cisco? There was another company. I can't think of the name of it, but um, it doesn't matter. Anyway, uh, but yeah, so Netgear not going to be banned. Basically, for as this article title suggests, and it is technically accurate, Netgear will, at least for a little while, have a monopoly in the U.S. for routers. Um, Now that being said, that's a little misleading. Technically, the ban does not apply to anything that had already been imported into the US. It does not apply to anything that currently exists or is in use in the US. It only applies to new hardware that would be imported as of the date of the ban. So basically, store shelves still have routers from all kinds of companies. All of those are still perfectly legal. You can still buy them, they're still available. But at a certain stage, those will start running out of stock. And Netgear will be the only router, at least currently, you'll be able to buy uh, and use. Or not, it's the only new router you'll be able to buy in the US. Um, will more things be added to the list? Yeah, eventually. I think it's a reasonably safe assumption that Google will probably get back on the list. Um, as will, let's see, Amazon under their brand. Damn it, what's the Amazon made one? Um, I'm totally blanking on the name of it. Uh, uh, let's see, Eero. Yeah, I'm sure Eero will get onto that list soon enough. Um, I'm totally blanking on names left and right. But yeah, it's one of those things where we'll see the companies slowly getting back on the list. But in the meantime, if you're going to buy a new thing, you may be stuck with Netgear, which isn't the worst, but is not the best. So, you know, each to their own. Um, yeah, that's I we probably would have turned this into a bigger and longer topic, but I don't know that there's a whole lot else to say on it at the moment. Um, oh, that's funny. The article the article named the same two that I picked out, even though there are obviously a few other companies that probably would be likely choices. Um, let's see. Um, yeah, there wasn't much else, but yeah, so there's that. uh I'd say that's about it on that one. So um yeah, I actually don't have any other topics to cover here. uh Really quick, just dropping that in its place. Cool. Okay, so what else is happening? What's going on? I will be uh let's yeah, sorry. I have like 16 thoughts in my head and I'm trying to sort out which ones to cover. Okay, so let's see. I will be back this weekend for I expect some Overwatch, though I'm definitely kind of in the mood to maybe do something less Overwatch and more, I don't know. Maybe play through a game. Um, I haven't decided on what yet. Though um, Elephants Part 1. What? Uh um yeah, I don't know. I'll probably do Overwatch this weekend just to check out the new hero. Because there is a new hero. Honestly, I am kind of leaning in the direction of Zero Dawn. Um because it'd be nice to play with the remastered version, which I'm sure would look a lot better. Um and it'll just be, much more chill, a little more fun. Um Obviously some story, which doesn't hurt. It's nice having a little bit of good story to go with it. Um let's see. Last of Us will probably happen eventually, but the more I think about that, the more I'm kind of thinking I might wait to do that one until. Do we have a current status on Last of Us Season 3? Um, it's in production last month. Or started production last month. Okay, wow. Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay, so that's not super relevant. Okay, anyway, they're aiming for a release next year. Why on earth did they wait so long to start production on season 3? There's no way they didn't have a lot of that writing already done. But okay, whatever. Um but yeah, I'll probably once we get a little bit closer to a reasonably well-known um like timeline for when season 3 is going to come out, I'll probably do a Last of Us replay from the beginning. Um Special effects probably, well, special, but no, the production, like the actual shooting, the filming didn't start until last month. There had to be other stuff they could have done. But whatever. I don't know. Also, apparently most of the season is supposed to be from Abby's perspective, which, I mean, I get that. That's kind of how that worked in the game. But that seems a little weird to me, because there was a lot of stuff left unfinished from Ellie's perspective, which, sort of feels like they wouldn't want to. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, so who knows? I'm sure they're changing up the show in a few interesting and quirky ways. And I know that they're nowhere close to releasing a Last of Us Part 3 game, but man, I really wish I want them to get that somewhere in the works so that Bella Ramsey isn't going to be like a 40-year-old when they finally return to her and say, "Hey, want to come back? We're ready for you." By the way, production starts in like 2.5, 3 years. Because that's how it'll end up working. Though who knows, now that an evil corporation is going to be owning HBO and the rights to The Last of Us, who knows what'll happen. Okay, so anyway, the show doesn't use much CGI. Oh wow, you did not watch the behind the scenes stuff, did you? It's true that they're not doing a lot of like fill-in CGI. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. they are doing a decent amount of fill-in CGI anytime they have a lot of infected. Um, but they are actually doing a lot of CGI on the faces of the infected, uh, and a lot of background stuff, like things that you just see in the distance or stuff like that. They have a shocking amount of CGI in that show. And when I say shocking, I kind of mean like if you go look through it, there are chunks of landscape that they're doing CGI on. They're doing a lot of stuff to it. It just is really hard to see because they're doing a really good job of it, or it's stuff in the background where like you have to remove something that looks modern, um and then just replace it with something that would look like, like the wilderness has reclaimed it. um uh The Last of Us 3 is once again the last major release on that PlayStation generation. Yeah, 100%. I mean, truthfully, there's a part of me that wonders if part 3 is, I don't think it's even going to make, well, I don't know. It's tough to say, but there's a part of me that really suspects that it's not even going to make it in time for the PS5. Um because the rumors have been the rumors have really circulated that basically they're not, like, they may be working on scripting, but rumors have strongly suggested that they're not sitting down to code yet. So if that's the case, there's a very good chance that they might not even start coding until they've got dev kits for the PS6. And if that's the case, they might just skip the PS5 entirely. The PS5 could just have been remastered versions of the Last of Us games. Um, I guess we'll see. You never know. But it would be wild if they skip an entire generation and then just end up saying, "Yeah, here, this is going to be maybe not a launch title for the PS6, but it ends up being like a PS6 exclusive." Um, it could happen. You never know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm leaning more in the direction this weekend. Again, probably going to be Overwatch, just so that I can do some of the events that will be going on and get, grind through those, play with the new hero a little bit, or, well, check out the new hero. I doubt I'll play her. Though I don't know yet. I've only seen a little bit about her. I'm behind at this moment. But yeah, so I'll probably check her out, but I want to lean away from Overwatch for a little while, or at least minimize how much of that there is, because frankly, this last season felt like massive burnout territory. They pushed it way too hard. Every event, literally every event, was grind. It was so many things where play 35 games and you get this thing or that thing, or you don't complete the event unless you do this thing or that thing that requires playing 20 games as each role and all this other stuff. I'm sorry, but the forced play X number of games just so you can get there, plus also trying to grind your way up the ranks for 3 different roles in Stadium, plus it drives week at the end of the season. It's so much stuff where you're just playing tons of games. It's only really good for people who are just obsessive daily streamers. So yeah, I've been saying this in a chat server. This is how you ruin a game. This is how you convince your audience that you're making them work instead of just having fun. Um, let's see. Anyway, um, um, Alyssa, you said you're dreading the Warner Brothers Discovery merging with Ellison's Corp, which in this instance is Paramount Plus, or sorry, Paramount. Um, TNT has the part of the USNHA or NHL deal. You're switching to YouTube Sports plan so they don't get 100% of money just to get national NHL broadcasts. Yeah, which notably, I haven't done it yet. I was actually thinking about doing it this week. Uh, I am going to change my AT&T plan, the one that's got the grandfathered free HBO Max subscription. I'm going to change that to dump HBO Max. Um, for one, it's actually just a good idea because as far as I can tell, and I'm still looking at details, but as far as I can tell, I'm going to end up actually saving a few bucks every month doing a switch away. So it's kind of worth doing anyway. Um, but also I don't want to give any money um, to a corrupt right wing conspirator. Just it doesn't benefit me or anyone else. Um, let's see. Next gen is going to be a massive upgrade compared to 8th gen to 9th gen. I'm actually a little skeptical about that. So I was kind of I've seen a lot of reports suggesting that obviously we've all heard, and we talked about it earlier. The next Xbox is supposedly going to be a like just basically a PC with a coat of paint on it. Like that's the narrative. It's going to have some Xbox related stuff to like give you interface and things like that, but purportedly it is basically just a PC. Which is kind of what the original Xbox was if you don't get too picky. Here's the thing. Sony has supposedly pushed back their plans on the PlayStation 6, and Microsoft reportedly is getting a little bit sketchy about what they're going to do with their next Xbox. I'm kind of wondering if they're not both going back to the drawing boards, asking the question, what can we do to lower manufacturing cost and protect ourselves in the event that let's just say tariffs don't screw things up even more again. And it's not just tariffs. I mean, that's the thing that we obviously highlight right now, but think about the last 10 years. There was at least one major flooding incident in, was it Thailand? Maybe it was, I could be wrong. There was a flooding incident somewhere, and it absolutely destroyed production capabilities for at least, I believe it was Western Digital for a little bit. There were, there's obviously now AI has completely tanked the SSD and RAM markets, except maybe it didn't, except it obviously did. And even if it did/didn't, it still has. Like, the prices aren't going to go back down to original price. And not only will prices not go back down, but depending on how things go with Micron, they probably just aren't going to go back down, because when the largest producer in an industry kind of goes away or goes and does their own little thing that is non-consumer, then the consumer price just kind of doesn't have a reason to ever go back down, because it basically just gave more monopoly to the ones who do produce. So we're in a little bit of that spot where this isn't a good situation for component prices. And we'll see how that goes. Obviously, it's not like Microsoft and Sony are buying on the regular components market. They're not buying off the shelf stuff. But, you know, when prices go up in one market, they usually go up in all the related markets. So I all of this to say, I'm not sure that the next generation of consoles is actually going to be as significant as it probably would have been had the last 10 years of chaos not happened. At this stage, I think Sony and Microsoft are both probably looking at situations and saying, okay, well, what happens in Taiwan when China finally just says, yep, we've had enough, we're going in and taking it? Or what happens in Eastern Asia if a war triggers between North Korea and anyone, or China and anyone, or Russia and anyone? What happens if another MAGA isolationist manages to get into office? Or who knows, maybe like we might get away from having a Republican president, but then all of Congress might flip to Republican somehow, and then they fight tooth and nail to hold on to anything and everything that got enacted during this administration. We don't know. There are a lot of variables that could absolutely ruin the world market and access to components and pricing, that might just screw up everything wherever we look. We don't know. And while they obviously have more knowledge and more influence, the reality is Sony and Microsoft don't know either. They cannot predict this stuff. They can't know what's coming that many years in advance. So I could see them both sitting back and saying, how do we protect ourselves in the event that this goes south? All of these things are possibilities. So their smart bet might end up being, rather than making very optimistic consoles that raise the prices even more, which is another thing everyone's railing against too. I could kind of see them making some really, really conservative designs for the next Xbox and PlayStation. Basically, rather than try to make them huge upgrades over their current generations, I could see them basically sitting back and saying, you know what? Graphics are already pretty nice. Let's just give them a decent bump. We need to inject some sort of local AI capabilities. So, whatever processor will have to support some of that. And, otherwise, basically just really normal iterative bumps rather than a generational huge increase. Basically, in a sense, what I'm kind of suggesting is they could do, well, to put this in simpler terms, I guess it'd be kind of like from the PlayStation 5 to the PS5 Pro. I could see Sony doing just another half generation step like that, and Microsoft doing, basically kill the Series S and come out with like a Series Z. I don't know. I'm just making up a number, or a name. But basically they could do their own pro level upgrade on the Series X. And then, they could do that as kind of holdovers. And they don't have to name them that. They can obviously just be like, that could be their next generation, and it's just not a massive, huge leap from their previous generation. It could just be kind of, again, like an iterative update. Let's see. RAM prices have been falling at a steady rate the last few weeks. Yes, but they're nowhere close to what they were. That's the thing. Like, they may be falling, but they're not back to where they were, and by all accounts, they're not likely to return to where they were. Again, A whole major manufacturer stepped out of that ring. Now, they could return. And if they do, maybe prices actually do go back down or maybe even drop below where they were. But I wouldn't make bets on it. Um anyway, so uh yeah. It's funny because all of this stemmed off of what game am I going to play on stream in the near future. Uh so yeah, anyway, yeah, Crucial NVMe drives were good. Uh I'm generally a fan. Okay, so anyway, let's see. As yeah, I think that about covers it. Trying to think. Was there anything else? I don't think there is. So, um yeah, again, gaming this weekend should be as usual. And then next week should be a RambleCast. And barring any unforeseen, unpredictable changes. Um, the Ramble after RambleCast. It kind of is, yeah. Okay, so with that, I believe it is a good time to wrap it up. Um, so thanks to everyone for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, and all that good stuff. If you suddenly I can't speak, my throat's going dry. All right. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Um, let's see. Oh, and of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel. Alyssa, David, Diablo, Carson, and Austin. Y'all are awesome human beings. Um, let's see. Again, like I said, game streams this weekend. Oh, not going to be happening this weekend, but somewhere probably approaching, or probably somewhere in May, I will very likely switch to earlier hours. I may wait till June, but we'll see. It does depend on the weather, um, and a couple of other variables, maybe too. But yeah, I'll probably switch to morning hours somewhere in that time frame. Um, but yeah, we'll get to that when that time comes. In the meantime, uh, I hope everyone has an excellent rest of their week, and I will catch you all in the next one. Good night, everybody.